Good morning and welcome. My name is Oreen Chowdhury, and I am the chair of Intergovernmental Relations Committee. I'm going to call to order our regular meeting for Thursday, February 15th, and I'll now have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Payne is absent. Wansley,
Present.
Vita,
Present.
Ellison is absent. Osman is absent. Cashman,
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez,
Present.
Shuktai,
Present.
Koski,
Present.
Palmisano,
Present.
Vice Chair Rainbow,
Present.
and Chair Chowdhury.
Present.
We have 9 present.
Wonderful. Our first item today is a resolution submitted by Council President Payne related to the national recall of Kia Hyundai models vulnerable to theft. As we can see, the Council President isn't in yet, so out of courtesy to him, I'm just going to move on to our second item and bring the first item later. Our next item is receiving a presentation related to the federal and state actions affecting the city of Minneapolis. The 2024 legislative session has started this week on Monday, February 12th, and our state legislators are already off to the races to get to work on bonding and policy items. Before I invite up staff, I want to note for my colleagues that my goal with this first meeting is for council members to receive an introductory presentation and level set regarding the city's legislative work, especially as it relates to the city's adopted state legislative agenda for 2024. It's my expectation that we will discuss and address any questions, issues, or concerns about the adopted agenda today. And then at our next meeting, which is scheduled for 2 weeks from today, February 29th at 10 a.m., I invite any amendments. I'll be working with our clerks to provide a structured process for bringing forward any proposed amendment, and you can expect to receive those instructions in the next day or two. Are there any questions on that? Okay, wonderful. Seeing none, I will now invite our IGR staff to introduce themselves and begin their presentation.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury and council members. I'm Katie Topinka, the Director of the Intergovernmental Relations Department here at the city. And presenting with me today is our Senior Government Relations Representative, Lauren Olson. She'll be giving our federal update at the end of the presentation. I'll just note that Steve Huser and Indiria Falana, who are the other government relations representatives on the team, are not here today because they are in St. Paul at hearings and so are covering those. But I will be providing updates on the issues that they cover. So as Chair Chowdhury noted already, the session began on Monday, February 12th, and it's off to a really fast start already. It feels fast, and so it is a shorter session, and that's typical in an even-numbered year because the state biennial budget is done in odd-numbered years, and so there is a little bit less work to do in the even-numbered years. And so I'll talk a little bit about what we expect the legislature to be focused on. But just as a reminder, the DFL does have control of the House by a 70 to 64 margin and control of the Senate by a very narrow 34 to 33 margin. As I mentioned, this is a shorter session. And another big difference from last year is that there is a pretty small surplus this year. From the December forecast, it was about $80 million, and they did also, the Minnesota Management and Budget Department did note that there's a structural budget imbalance in out years. And so we are definitely hearing from legislative leadership and the governor to not expect a lot of spending this session. There will be the February forecast, which usually is around February 29th or March 1st, that comes out from MMB. There are some indications that surplus may go up a little bit based on revenue collections, but we'll just have to wait and see what the forecast says. And so that forecast will really then determine what can happen this legislative session in terms of a supplemental budget and a capital investment bill. So that will be pretty telling when that comes out in a couple of weeks. But we're definitely, as I said, hearing from legislative leadership and the governor that they do not plan to spend a lot of money this session. The first and second deadlines, so the legislature gives itself deadlines by which policy bills and then budget and tax bills have to be through the committees that they have to be heard by. The first and second deadlines this session are March 22nd, so they're doing both on the same day, which means any policy bills have to be through committees in the House and Senate by that date. So that's not super far from now. It's now less than 6 weeks. And so things are moving quickly to try to meet those committee deadlines. I just also note that it's an election year for House members, which of course just plays into the dynamics of the session. And then the even-numbered years are traditionally bonding years, and so we are hopeful there will be a bonding bill this year. I will note that a bonding bill requires a supermajority, so it does have to be bipartisan support to pass a bonding bill that has general obligation bond projects in it. And so that is a point of leverage that the Republicans do have in both the House and Senate. There need to be Republican votes to pass a bonding bill. The governor did introduce a bonding bill in January, or not introduce, the governor can't introduce bills. The governor proposed a bonding package in January. That was a $982 million proposal that included $820 million in general obligation bonds. His proposal included about $40 million for local projects, which I will remind everyone what our asks are, and you'll see that our asks alone are more than $40 million, and there are a lot of cities that have asks of over that amount. And so we are hopeful that when the legislature comes forward with its bonding bill proposals, that the number for local projects is higher than $40 million. I think it probably will be, but it's still, there's a limited amount of funds that they're going to be able to spend in a bonding bill this year, given the forecast. So this is just kind of to try to paint the picture a little bit of the dynamics that we are experiencing at the legislature this year. And so I will also just give a reminder about who some of the key leadership and committee chairs are. So as I'm sure you're all aware, the Senate selected a new majority leader last week. Senator Aaron Murphy from St. Paul, former Senate Majority Leader Carrie Dietzig stepped down, and certainly wishing her well as she deals with health issues. And so Senator Aaron Murphy is now the Senate Majority Leader. Senator Bobby Joe Champion from Minneapolis remains the Senate President. And then the Senate Minority Leader is Senator Mark Johnson, who's from Senate District 1 up in the northwest corner of the state in Grand Forks. And then we do have a number of Minneapolis delegation members who chair committees in the Senate, including Senator Dibble, who chairs Transportation, Senator Champion, who chairs Jobs and Economic Development, and Senator Melissa Wickland, who chairs Health and Human Services. Senator Wickland represents just a small corner of Minneapolis. She also represents Bloomington and Richfield. In the House, the leadership is the same as last year, with the Speaker, Melissa Hortman from Brooklyn Park, Representative Jamie Long, who of course is from Minneapolis, is the House Majority Leader, and then Representative Lisa Damuth from Cold Spring is the Minority Leader. And then here you can see we do have a number of Minneapolis delegation members who chair key committees, including Representative Gomez, Taxes, Representative Howard, with Housing, Representative Hassan, Economic Development, Representative Fooley chairs Capital Investment, and then Frank Hornstein chairs Transportation, Representative Newar chairs Human Services Finance. So it's obviously really great for the city to have our delegation members in these key roles, and we can work closely with them on our city priorities. As I mentioned, it is traditionally a bonding year in even-numbered years, and so the city did put forth 4 requests to the state last year, which were approved by a council resolution in last September, and the resolution does rank the projects in this order that is showing on the slide. So our highest-ranked project is the Nicollet Avenue Bridge over Minnehaha Creek, which is located in Ward 11, and it's a project that's also supported by the Park Board because it spans over Park Board property as well, going over the creek and the parkway there. This would be repairing that bridge and making it last well into the future. We do anticipate this to be a bus rapid transit line at some point in the future. This is a highly traveled bridge with folks from other parts of the region using it to come to Minneapolis, so from Richfield, Bloomington, and Edina. And this has been a request we've had for a few years now. We are hopeful that we can advocate strongly for this one moving forward. But I will just note, as I mentioned earlier, it is a significant ask, and we do not expect the bill to be huge this year. So it will take, a lot of advocacy to try to get this into a final package. Our next request is structural renewal of a 36-inch water main. This is lining the water main that runs from North Minneapolis to downtown. It's a key part of the water supply to downtown. This is a pipe that did break a couple of years ago, and there was a brief boil water advisory. If we can reline the pipe rather than having to go in and repair the whole thing piece by piece, it's much more cost effective and can be done more quickly. And so we are hopeful the state can help support half the cost of that project. We also have our ongoing request for our ADA transition plan implementation. This is updating our sidewalk ramps to be ADA compliant. Public Works is doing that as it goes and repairs streets throughout the city, but this is a project that there's just an ongoing need for additional funding for, so we can make sure we get all those sidewalk ramps into compliance. And then lastly, we are seeking just under $4 million for a sanitary sewer project near the airport. And that's a relatively small request at $3.9 million. And then moving on to some of our policy priorities going into this session. And I believe you all also have a handout of the 2024 legislative agenda that looks like this. This is what you all approved back in November. We just put it onto with the help of communication, sort of a nicer looking document. But these are the items that came through council last November. And so these are the things that our team is working closely on in partnership with members of the Minneapolis delegation and other stakeholders to try to advance this session. So I will just run through these. This is not, what's on the slide is not entirely comprehensive, but I tried to pick some of the key things, key highlights, so happy to also take questions if you are curious about something that's not listed here. But I will run through these and then pause for questions. So one of our large priorities is around economic inclusion and recovery. We do, as everyone is aware, have buildings in downtown that have significant vacancies, commercial buildings, and so we are working with other cities which are experiencing similar challenges, St. Paul, but also really cities throughout the state where they have commercial buildings that just aren't being used at the same level that they used to be. So trying to identify some tools where we could convert those buildings into residential or other uses. So there is a proposal for a tax credit that would allow for a conversion that we are supporting. We are also working with our counterparts in St. Paul to develop a new type of TIF district that could support conversions, and so we're still working to finalize that language, but that's another strategy. And then we're also hoping to develop a proposal for a grant program through the Economic Development Department that will allow for some support for storefront conversions as well. So there's a couple of different tools there that we're hopeful can be adopted and help support our downtown and other parts of the city with recovery and other cities throughout the state. These tools are also supported by the League of Minnesota Cities and Metro Cities, and so this is not something that it's just Minneapolis seeking these tools, but it's really a collaborative effort. The next item is our comprehensive plan bill. This is, of course, a large priority for the city this session. We are seeking legislative clarification that that comprehensive plans, or at least certain types of comprehensive plans, are not subject to environmental review under the Minnesota Environmental Rights Act. This is in response to the the legal challenge we're facing with 2040. But we do believe that it's also really important to other cities, any cities that do a comprehensive plan, because they could face a similar challenge in the future if we don't get this clarified in state statute. We also have support this year from the League of Minnesota Cities, Metro Cities, for this legislative proposal. We've also been working with a number of environmental organizations to craft language that we can all kind of agree to, that both the environmental groups and the city groups are comfortable with moving forward. And we're talking to some of our labor partners who are also supportive of seeking this change. So this is something that is certainly a collaborative effort, but also something that will have to go through several committees, and so something that our team is spending quite a bit of time on this session. Under housing and homelessness response, I just wanted to highlight that Hennepin County is bringing forth a proposal for sustainable operational funding for shelters, that we are supporting the Heading Home Hennepin Executive Committee, which I believe now Councilmember Ellison sits on, also endorsed this. And so this is something that Hennepin County is leading, but we are supporting because we know it's really important for our community to ensure that we have that sustainable operational funding for our low barrier shelters moving forward. We are also working on seeking support for zero waste initiatives to help our community move toward being able to reduce the amount of waste we have and eventually get to zero waste. So again, we are working closely with Hennepin County on those initiatives, and also on extended producer responsibility, so ensuring that producers of things that create a lot of waste also have some responsibility for dealing with that waste. Representative Jordan is carrying a bill on that, and we are supporting her effort around that. And then a couple of last things I'll highlight. We are working on legislation that would allow cities to have traffic enforcement cameras. This is something that would give cities the authority to do it, and then, of course, the city would still have to set up ordinances and policies around that. So we are seeking the authority, and then would come back to council. And I believe Ethan Fowley is here, or will be here shortly, if there are specific questions about that effort. But there'd be a lot of work to happen after that if we were to get the enabling legislation. But this year, we're just seeking that authority from the legislature. One thing I didn't put on here, but I'm just going to mention too, is we are also seeking authority to be able to have pedestrian malls throughout different parts of the city. And so we do have a bill for that that's been introduced and has a hearing coming up. And again, it would allow the council to authorize pedestrian malls without having to have specific authority through state statute. Or this would just give us the authority through state statute to do it when the council chooses to do it. We are seeking some additional strategies for peace officer recruitment and retention. And so Steve Huser is working closely with a number of different stakeholders on this, but our goal is to try to lower barriers to potential peace officers who have significant experience or education that is applicable to being a peace officer, So, for example, an EMT or a corrections officer who has life experience and applicable experience, but would have to go back and get an associate's degree to be, or maybe I don't know if an associate's degree is the right term, but have to get the right certification to become a peace officer. What we're looking for is being able to consider the experience that they have them go through the academy, and not have to take time off of work to go get a different degree to be able to become a peace officer. So there is some openness to this through the Peace Officers Association and the Chiefs of Police Association, as a lot of communities are seeking challenges or having challenges recruiting officers. And then lastly, we are looking at a proposal to separate the bargaining units between peace officers and sergeants and lieutenants. And so we are still kind of working through that. We're talking with the Bureau of Mediation Services, and we will be talking to MDHR and others just to try to make sure we're getting that right. But that is another item on our legislative agenda that we're working on right now. So with that, I will pause and would be happy to take questions. And then Lauren will come up to talk a little bit more about the federal earmark process.
Thank you, Director Topinka. Is there any questions from my colleagues on any of the parts of the presentation so far? All right, Council President Payne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The traffic camera, I think we could probably have a whole deeper discussion about specific. I do have like a lot of hopes, but then concerns, and I know that there's the way that we implement it and how we would create local regulation around it has a really profound impact on how that might be implemented. So definitely want to get into deep conversation about that. But I'm curious for the rest of the agenda. For the things that we are seeking support from the state from, how many of those items would still require us to pass enabling legislation here locally?
Chair Chowdhury and Council President Payne, I'm just reading through the list here.
Or instead of maybe how many, which ones
Yeah.
come to mind that would be something I should be thinking about now?
I think that is the biggest one. The pedestrian malls is another one where there would be, we would require enabling legislation. The others, I think, that I'm looking at here are some of them are funding tools or clarification in statute that just give us clarity on how we can approach things, so probably don't require local action. I was just thinking of one that I thought maybe would, and now it slipped my mind, but if the TIF proposal were to pass, that would require council action to set up a new type of TIF district. So I think those are the ones that come to mind off the top of my head anyway.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Director Topinka. And if you're able to just kind of share offline the places where it touches local government, like I know off the top of my head with our zero waste initiative, some of it will trigger some council action that we'll need to take. So yeah, when you have some time to just look through all of our great priorities and send us some information, that's super appreciated.
And Chair Chowdhury, it's certainly if the city does receive any direct funding, the council does have to act to accept that funding as well. So I should just mention that too.
Thank you, Director Topinka. Now I'll call on Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury, and thank you, Director Topinka. Going back to the pedestrian mall changes we're seeking to make, is the city looking at specific locations in the city of Minneapolis when we are asking to change state law for that? Is it like looking at Nicollet Mall, George Floyd Square? Can you just let us know like what we're thinking of when we're making that change?
Chair Chowdhury, Councilmember Chavez. Well, I think there's the one example of Warehouse District Live, where we've sort of had temporary authority to do the things that are happening there, but that would create sort of just structure around something like that. So that's one example. Nicollet Mall is another. I think George Floyd Square is another possibility. I know there's still a lot of community engagement and conversations happening around there. So I think it's more about having the local flexibility and authority to be able to do it when we know there is, sort of community interest in having that type of, having a pedestrian mall.
Thank you, Director Topinka. Thanks.
I will now call on Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. I actually got in queue for Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you. Having a hard time with the speaker management here. My question, thank you so much, Director Topinka. My question is about the zero waste action initiatives that's written here. Is that a funding ask? Is that a rule change ask? Can you give a little more detail there?
Chair Chowdhury and Councilmember Cashman, it is a little bit of both, but what I would like to do is, Indiria Falana is our lead on that, so she has more details, so we can definitely follow up with more detail about all of the different asks related to that. So I will get the committee that information.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Topinka. And I'll just say to that, for the public and the rest of the body, there is a shared legislative agenda with Hennepin County, and there are a number of points that are related to zero waste initiatives that, hearing interest, we can hopefully send something out that kind of expands on what those looks like. Next, I have Councilmember Ellison, who's put himself on queue.
Thank you, Chair. Just wanted to note my attendance, and also, if it's okay with the body, I'd like to have my affirmative vote noted for the consent item. Oh, you haven't taken that up yet. Great. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. I will call on Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Chaudhry, and good morning, Ms. Topinka. I'm wondering if you are familiar with any legislation to sort of increase fees on, I guess, major polluters or manufacturers in the House or Senate.
Chair Chowdhury and Councilmember Jenkins, I am not sure if we've seen anything come through in introductions yet, but we will verify that and get back to you. I know that's something that's of interest to Councilmember Wansley as well, and so I will have to double check and get back to you because I don't know off the top of my head if anything's been introduced yet.
Great, thank you.
I will call on Councilmember Wansley, who might have a response to that. Councilmember Jenkins?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Chowdhury, and you're absolutely right in terms of Director Topinka. This has been a priority of my office as we're advancing PCAR and specifically increasing or expanding fees for CO2, but we know our ability to use fees in a flexible manner is basically limited by state statute. So one thing that this body did approve last December was making municipal fee authority a priority for the state legislator. I know as it relates to climate change, especially with the leadership of Councilmember Chavez doing a lot of engagement with his residents around Smith Foundry, there's an interest in revisiting this conversation of what it looks like to advance that legislation. So we're going to be meeting with a few Minneapolis delegation members to really see what's the possibilities of getting some legislation introduced in the coming weeks so we can start holding corporate polluters and industrial polluters accountable and hopefully generating fees that could then go and support communities that have been harmed by their existence. So we will absolutely keep this body updated on the developments of those conversations.
I put myself in queue. I just wanted to go to our top bonding priority, which is Nicollet Avenue Bridge, and I was kind of hoping you can speak to one, why is this our top bonding priority, and then what would happen if we aren't getting bonding money this year, and how we can best advocate on this item.
Chair Chowdhury and council members, so the Nicollet Avenue Bridge is our top bonding priority. We've had this on our list for a few years now, and so every year that it's not funded, the cost of repairing it does increase significantly, and so we're hopeful we can get it funded to make the repairs that are needed. This is a highly traveled bridge. At this point, there aren't load restrictions, but at a certain point, if we aren't able to make the repairs, that may be something that has to be considered. So that's why it is our top priority. The other reason is, the state general obligation bond funding is something that then the proceeds come to us and the bonds are paid off through state income tax. If it's something that the city has to finance itself at a certain point, then of course it's repaid through property taxes. And because this is something that is a regional asset, we believe it's appropriate for the state to help support it and help pay for it through a more progressive income tax repayment. We are seeking federal dollars for it as well. We do have some federal funding secured, but we are seeking, and I believe this will be coming through council if it hasn't already, through from the Public Works Department, but seeking federal bridge improvement program dollars for it, which we are hopeful, but we won't know before the end of the session. And so the federal bridge improvement program won't fully fund the bridge either, and so we would still need to fill that gap. And so again, that's why we're seeking that state support, the regional nature of the bridge. We think it's an appropriate bonding ask, and we would like to see it get done so that the cost doesn't continue to increase. But at a certain point, yes, if it's not funded by the state, then the council will have to determine how to address that project and the need there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Director Topinka. Emphasis on regional asset. While it might be in Minneapolis, we're having residents from all across the area use this bridge, and it's very necessary. So I thought it felt important to highlight that for this body as we're having conversations with our state delegation. Are there any other questions for this part of the presentation from members?
Do we own that bridge?
Director Topinka, I'll give that to you. Thank you,
Chair
Councilmember
Chowdhury, Councilmember Jenkins, yes.
Okay,
Yes, we do.
thank you.
Seeing none, I will just put myself in queue to just mention on traffic cams. There's a lot of interest from community members to get in on engagement at the state level and at the local level. And one thing, while I'm interested in this conversation that we're having and how we can mitigate crashes and high injury cases that happen on our city streets, the heart of it is community members really want to engage and get their questions answered because there are a lot of concerns that are coming even if we're going to do a municipal engagement process. So I'm hoping that as a city, as we're talking to legislators, we can encourage spaces and places for that to happen so we can follow along. And with that, I don't see any other questions from my colleagues, so we can move forward with the presentation. Oh. Sorry, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. I know this has been added to our legislative agenda as of yet, but just wanted to know if you could provide some updates with the creation of the new Department of Early Childhood and Early Learning, and what possibilities that might mean for supporting childcare accessibility here in Minneapolis.
Chair Chowdhury and Councilmember Wansley, that is one I would like to take and get back to you. I don't have the latest on that, but that is something that was established last session. And so I know all the state agencies are working to try to get all of the new things implemented that happened last year. And so they're sort of different, things are at different statuses. So I will look into that and get back to you with more information.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Topinka. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, council members. I'm Lauren Olson, Senior Government Relations Representative, and I'm just going to provide some background information for you today about the federal earmarks process. as the city starts to potentially identify projects that we want to seek earmarks for, Congress has, in the last few years, not provided a lot of notice when they do make earmarks available and have an application process. It's usually a short window. So we've been preparing so that we are ready to move quickly in that process. And part of that is to make sure that you all are up to date about the earmarks process, and then we will be sharing with you in the future some of the projects that have been identified from the city as potentially appropriate for this process. So some of you may know that there was a moratorium on earmarks in 2011, and so there was a 10-year break where Congress was not doing earmarks, but they decided to resume them for fiscal year 2022. And one of the reasons why that's important information is that I think a lot of the infrastructure and the process that supported earmarks had gone away, and I think they're still working on getting a groove and having enough support for this process. So it still tends to be fraught with a lot of challenges with the agencies and continual surprises on the timelines and stuff like that. So that's just a reality of working with this particular process to be aware of. There are two separate and parallel processes for earmarks. So there is a House side called community project funding, and then there is a Senate side called congressionally directed spending. And they each have a lot of idiosyncrasies, but one thing to know is that generally what's happened is House members have had the ability to select a certain number of projects. So like last year was 15 per member. And what tends to happen there is as long as those are eligible projects that are appropriate for this process, they probably will just, those will stick with, those will stay until the very end. And if appropriations do pass Congress at the end of that process, then the recommendations of the member will probably stay. On the Senate side, however, our senators get hundreds of projects from around the whole state. They advance a big portion of, or they advance a lot of projects from there, but the process then has more intervention, I would say, by appropriations subcommittees in the Senate, which then do a lot of their own work to whittle that list down. So there's just a level of certain things that end up going through the Senate become further and further kind of out of everyone's control about the final outcome. So a couple different approaches here. A key thing about earmarks projects that the city might identify is that it needs to match one of the available accounts. Now, for the FY25 process, we actually don't have any guidance right now, so we don't know what the guidance is. However, we've been working based on the FY24 guidance to do our best to be ready for this process. I believe there's 12 accounts in the Senate and 7 in the House, but either way, there are specific things that are available for earmarks and certain things that are not. So we must find a project that kind of meets that criteria. Another thing about this whole process is that it's very unpredictable in terms of timing, so our projects must be able to work with that process. We get some indications once we apply, which is generally in the spring, we get various indications of how, if our projects are advancing, but we generally won't know if we have money appropriated for us until Congress is done with their budget process. The fiscal year ends September 30th, but it's very common for Congress to use continuing resolution to fund the government, and then you start to punt that date back. So right now, for example, the budget for 2024 is not approved by Congress yet. There's a couple deadlines in March 1st and March 8th, because they bifurcated parts of their budget where we think that they may finally act on the 2024 budget. And at that point, our appropriation requests that we brought before, that's when we'll find out if we really have money with our name on it from last year's process. So that hasn't concluded yet. So last year was December 29th, but basically it takes a long time before you even know if you ultimately have money with your name on it. And then once you do have an appropriation, you actually apply for it, and that's where they do the scrutinizing to make sure that you match the fund and all the criteria. Sometimes we don't even know exactly what criteria they're going to apply until we get to that stage, but we apply for the money that has our name on it, and then we get it. And that can take 6 months or sometimes longer for that process, or often longer than that. Again, the point of sharing that information is that the projects that we're going to seek to identify that would be appropriate for the city to bring should be flexible enough to deal with that timing, and where we don't want to be relying on money that is going to interfere in, with something because we don't have it in hand. And we'll talk about an example where that happened. These earmarks operate a lot like grants, and so they have administrative requirements that you need people and staff and reporting to the federal government. So we need to be mindful as we think about this about having sufficient staff, available to do the work, and that costs money as well. Finally, on this slide, in the past so far, nonprofit organizations have been eligible to seek earmarks. And so hopefully that will continue going forward. And that's wonderful because we've seen a lot of great projects from across the city of Minneapolis get funded. The city brings projects that are from our enterprise, but we also see many great projects that we also support around the city of Minneapolis. So just to talk about some of the earmarks that we have in the past or which are pending. So right now, as I said, the federal government budget is not approved until March. We have 3 things pending in that process. We have some money for affordable housing at 38th and Chicago. That is a flexible source of money that is not tied to specific projects, but was kind of targeted towards an area. We asked for $4 million initially for that and it ended up being something that Representative Omar supported and put forward for $4 million. But the House ultimately decided, as a whole, and a GOP-led House decided they wanted to cut the amount of appropriations, and the way they did that was to just chop a lot of people's asks and made them smaller. So that can be another challenge here, is sometimes, if you get a small award, it can really not always be enough to accomplish your goal. But, I mean, we're grateful for the support. But, so we have $850,000 potentially pending right now. The next one is for some infrastructure improvements to the Minneapolis Farmers Market, and that was another one that was a $4 million request that the House ended up reducing to $850,000. Again, that was Representative Omar had that on her list, and we really appreciate that she selected 2 of our projects for the last year's process. We also have a $2.5 million ask to support our violence intervention program and expand the hours and the reach of that program. That is pending, and that is something that advanced through the Senate side of the process. In the past, we have received money for our 911 first responder study. Some of you know that it's the Problem Nature Code project, where we analyze 911 calls to determine maybe different approaches to responding to those, including the behavioral crisis response team. So this was additional money to continue that type of work. We also got $1.894 million for police recruitment efforts, and that's the effort to provide a pathway to younger people who are interested and who are from the community to get exposure to policing, and if they would like to become a police officer, to have a pathway. And then the first year that earmarks became available, we got $1.8 million to support WADOG housing, and that is a very specific project in Ward 2 with a woman developer and a people of color developer. The WADOG is an example of where we sought money for a specific project like that through CPED, and we ran into a lot of challenges receiving the money from HUD and a lot of timing problems, and it was really it has a big impact on that individual's project, right? And so in some ways, that type of project is maybe not ideal for us because the timing issues and stuff were difficult had difficult impacts on the project. So as we identify city projects, I'll just kind of review what things we're looking for. So I've been in communication with departments across the city. We've had, work sessions or meetings where we review carefully all of the considerations. We've shared with them details that we have from last year about the guidance so that they can really look at the potential accounts that are applicable to the stuff that they work with. And we're really leaning on our departments to identify what things within, their realm might be appropriate for this process, all things considered. So again, this reviewing, does this match an account? Is it flexible on timing? And is it acceptable for budget impacts? Most earmarks do not have a match requirement, but some do. And there can be, there's also potentially budgetary impacts from administering a grant and so on. So we need to look at that. Capacity and value to administer, again, goes to the fact that it does take money and time to administer a federal grant. Support from the federal delegation, again, obviously, as I've described the process, we need our projects to be selected by our U.S. senators or Representative Omar in order for them to advance to the next step. So we need them to support that. And if we also hope that it's a priority for them to make sure it gets on Representative Omar's list, or maybe to get that extra advocacy as it moves through the Senate process, then where we can find projects with synergy with their priorities is going to be the strongest situation. So I believe that concludes my overview. And so right now our city departments have been working to identify things that the enterprise is doing that with your permission and guidance on, advancing the projects that the mayor and council want them to do, to see if any of those projects can fit with this and seek funding. Are there any questions?
Yes, thank you so much, Lauren. I will open it up to my colleagues and ask if there are any questions. Okay, Council President Payne.
Thank you, Chair Chowdhury. I'm wondering if there is any, or maybe the question is, what was part of the process for us coming up with the projects that we felt? Because in some earlier conversations, it feels that for context, it's not like there are these very clear black and white guidelines on for what projects are a good project for an earmark and which projects aren't. And I'm wondering, and it's very much outside of our control because it seems like it's whatever the whims of Congress might be as they review the projects that come in. And I'm just wondering what would be helpful for us to think about when it comes to projects that might be a good fit.
Thank you, Council President Payne. In a way, I think that we potentially almost have too much guidance on what makes a good project. It's just that every project needs to be evaluated in the weeds. So, that's why we are looking to departments to look at this criteria, and then when they have an idea that kind of is flexible enough and that our delegation would support, then we begin to evaluate it based on a lot of details with the account. And we've already had conversations too we've met with Representative Omar's staff, we've met with our senators to kind of talk to them. A lot of their priorities are, say, similar. As far as we hear a lot about public safety and housing, and Representative Omar is always interested in food security for kids. But so I guess I'm maybe not sure how to answer your question. I think we start with these type of criteria, and then we'd start to drill down further on each project to see if it's a good fit for it. I don't know if you want to, if I answered that sufficiently or not.
Is there a helpful role that we can play on council in terms
Yeah,
of like either filtering projects or
Right.
bringing more projects?
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly if you're wondering about a project, I think it certainly makes sense to flag that and ask the question of, is this appropriate? I would hope that relevant department that touches that is already doing that kind of analysis. But yeah, you could flag things for analysis. And then we could take a close look about, is this good for this process? So certainly you can flag things if you want to. Again, we are kind of hoping that our departments are doing the work of looking at things within their portfolio and trying to find a fit.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. I put myself in queue. Lauren, thank you for coming and presenting. The one question that I have is that I've heard from some of our federal leaders that they would like the city to ask for more projects rather than less. Could you speak to that and what that might be about?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I think we both heard some feedback from one member of our delegation said that. I think I will be following up with that office to understand what it is. I guess I can be more straightforward. I think Senator Klobuchar provided that feedback, and I will follow up with her office to understand what she's looking for, because we've already met with her staff this year, and we meet with them every year about things that are important to her. For example, public safety is always important to her. So I think we've been very sensitive in hearing her about her priorities and looking for projects again where there is that match. So because that's going to be the strongest project. But in the past, for example, we've had 9 projects one time. We had 11. So I'm guessing that that she might be looking for a certain type of more, and not just more. But again, we also need to make sure that these are good for this process, because what's also not a good idea is to realize that it's not a fit at a late date, or to have a project that's still developing and realize that it's no longer, that we've misrepresented it or something. So we just need to also make sure it's appropriate for the process. But I will be following up with her office to see if there's more detail on that feedback.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I'll just note for the body, as we're discussing earmarks, I know that our IGR team is internally trying to figure out what those priorities are, and they'll share that information with us. And then myself, Vice Chair Rainville, President Payne, Council Vice President Chugtai are all here to help kind of facilitate the questions or thoughts and ideas around earmarks with our IGR staff and team.
Madam Chair, can I just add one more thing?
Yes, please.
I just want to note, too, that our approach to this every year as a city has been that we advance all viable projects that are identified in the city enterprise. So if it's a fit for this process, then we generally submit it. So we don't, have to pick and choose. We advance all viable projects. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you telling us how to do it. It's really, really appreciate it. Instead of no, you're saying there's a way and there's a path forward, and we love to hear that. I'll ask my colleagues one more time if there's any questions or comments on the entirety of the presentation or on this item. Okay, seeing none, I'm just going to close off this section by saying at the beginning of the presentation, I mentioned that it's my goal to help develop a structured process to bring forward any amendments or refinements on the 2024 legislative agenda, and that will take place between now and the next meeting on the 29th. My hope and understanding of why it feels important for this body to take that on is this is going to be a session that's moving really fast, and there's already some policy priorities that line up with interests of members on this body and the city, and those aren't fully listed on our legislative agenda for 2024, so we're hoping to make some good additions, and we've already found some alignments through conversations with members of our Minneapolis delegation, and that handout that you received today and that is in the LIMS file for the presentation is the place where we will be taking the amendments as our priorities for 2024 legislative session. And I'll be sending an email with those instructions, timelines, and forms for you to use with the help of our clerks. And obviously, if you have any questions before I get that email out, please let me know. And with that, I will go to our first item, which was a resolution submitted by Council President Payne related to the national recall of Kia and Hyundai models vulnerable to theft. Council President Payne, would you like to speak on this item?
Yes, thank you, Chair Chowdhury. This resolution, if folks are following along, the Hyundai and Kia models have a vulnerability. It's a failure, frankly, of product engineering that make them uniquely susceptible to auto theft. Through the leadership of our State Attorney General and a number of State Attorneys General, there was some motion or some movement towards trying to hold the auto manufacturers accountable. They pushed back. This resolution is trying to take this to another level of regulation and enforcement at the federal level, and we're asking NHTSA, the National Highway Safety, our federal regulators to do more to intervene on this unique vulnerability, because this is one of those really classic examples of our police department's not going to be able to keep up with the volume of auto theft. This is the root cause here is an engineering problem, not a policing problem, and that is we need to hold these auto manufacturers accountable for building a product that has such a blatant vulnerability to auto theft. And so that's essentially what we're trying to accomplish with this resolution. And we're actually working with a number of jurisdictions across the country that are also seeing this spike in auto theft as a result of this vulnerability. And so we're hoping to see some movement at the federal level to ask these auto manufacturers to recall these defective devices.
Thank you, Council President. Is there any discussion or comments on this item? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, President Payne, would you like to move approval on this item?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a proper motion before us. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. I'll also ask the clerk to file the previous report on the presentation that we had before us. And with that, we have concluded all business to come before the committee today, and without objection, we are adjourned.